Welcome to Spill the Sustainability,
the podcast where we spill the tea on the hottest
and most controversial topics in the industry over a cup of tea.
What are you drinking today?
Today I'm drinking a matcha latte with slightly gone off oat milk. Because then you didn't tell me that the milk in the fridge was gone off.
I forgot. I'm sorry. Well, I didn't know it was gone off because I got a milk delivery this morning from the milkman, as you do.
The oat milk.
The oat milkman. And I forgot to warn you that it might not be good anymore.
I think it's fine. It's only a splash, so I think it's okay. It's more like a matcha tea than a matcha latte. And I'm having the Bird and Blend. I think it's the strawberries and cream one. I'd rate it so far because if you've been a keen listener, you'll know that I'm going through every single one in the packet.
Yeah.
This one I'm going to rate 4 out of 10. It's my least favourite so far, but there's been some real bangers in there. I did like the ginger nut one.
You did love the ginger nut one. I feel like both Rosie and I prefer a savoury drink.
Yeah. Or something like ginger's not so sweet. It's like a little like...
spicy.
Yeah. What are you drinking?
I'm drinking a coffee. I feel like this is called Spill the Sustainability, but I've moved away from tea. As of recent.
Oh my gosh, yeah, neither of us have a tea. Crazy.
But I really like the whole like drinking a coffee while we have our little chats.
Yeah, I need it. I always need the reinvigoration.
Yeah, you always turn up at my house like,
I don't know why. I think on Mondays I'm always a bit tired because of the weekend.
Girl has got a busy social calendar.
Yeah. Unfortunately. Bring me back to my introvert days. I used to be a massive introvert, but suddenly for some reason I've become not that anymore.
Yeah, you're definitely not an introvert. I think I'm more of an introvert than you.
Yeah, I think so. But I used to be more so, don't you reckon?
No, you've always had a quite busy social calendar. But so in today's episode, we're talking about
minimalism
versus minimalist aesthetic.
Which I think is going to be really interesting because when Izzy pitched the idea to me, I was like, oh, tell me more about that. So tell us more about that, Izzy.
I feel like minimalism is something that's like a buzzword in sustainability. It's like living with less, buying less, basically anything to do with less. Whereas I feel like the aesthetic's just been picked up by like fashion trends as just a cool thing to do. You know, like I would say everyone wearing like very Scandi styles, sort of very minimalist. You know, everyone talking about chic and
like the row being a really in thing.
Exactly, yeah. And then like, you know, the trad wife aesthetic. I feel like that's obviously slightly different, but again, it taps into that minimalist aesthetic. And I feel like they're really different because you can have minimalist style, but not
minimalist values.
Yeah.
We're about the minimalist values. Although, even are we? Like, I don't know.
I'm not gonna lie, I have too much rubbish.
yeah. But it was very interesting because it did make me think about it. Like, so many people I see on TikTok are saying, oh, like, I have a very minimalist wardrobe. That's, like, my sense of fashion. Like, I don't overdo it, keeping it neutrals, things like that. And in my head, that buzzword means, oh, like, maybe this person's got, like, a capsule wardrobe. Yes. And, like, they're, you know, keeping it very low-key, re-wearing the same pieces. That's not what it means.
We'd like to make note.
It actually just means boring clothes. Sorry. I can say that because I sometimes often dress in the aesthetic of minimalism. Like,
I'm going to say it. Can't believe I'm saying this on the internet. I think minimalist fashion, you're a sheep, you're following a trend.
I think it can be chic though. You can do minimalist in a way that's like nice and like, you know who does really well is she called Moya?
Moya Mormini.
She does it so really well, I think.
I think the thing with minimalism and minimalist fashion, whatever you want to call it, is that I just don't see anyone who it's their personal style. I feel like they're just following a vibe, they're following a trend. Whereas I think you're right, I feel like Moya, when I look at her styling...
She's been doing that for years.
Yeah, and it feels very like her vibe. It doesn't feel like it's a fleeting thing. I feel like she wears all of that tailoring, all of those very like neutral tones, but I still think they look in a way unique on her.
Yeah, she also does rewear things.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
it's not just a constant succession of like bad quality Zara items.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I'm like just a Moya diehard fan.
I know, me too. I was like, I love her. But I do like sometimes, like, for example, right now, I'd say this could be a minimalist outfit. My socks are odd.
Wait, can you like...
I've got one leopard print sock, one inside out sock.
Oh, dead.
But this is like neutral, and this is neutral.
I would say your colour tones are quite minimalist,
Yeah.
but I don't think your styling is at all.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
Because I think a lot of minimalist fashion is very much like tailoring,
Yeah.
but just worn as tailoring.
I think a lot of it is like oversized blazer.
A waistcoat. I mean, oh my god, how many people wearing a beige waistcoat?
Like,
the entire world.
what's the woman called who everyone loves her, like blonde hair blowout? Matilda Djerf.
Yeah.
I'd say that's quite that kind of vibe. And I think a lot of brands get away with it. I think we mentioned this a couple podcasts ago, but with oversized clothing being oversized in the correct way, it's like well tailored and still fits right, it's just oversized. But I think with this minimalist vibe, brands do oversized blazers, but they're just selling you something that's like 4 sizes too big for you.
Yeah, 100%. And actually, like that, I just feel like that should just go to
Yeah.
someone who is the correct
Yeah,
size, because
yeah.
there's already an issue with like size inclusivity in fashion. But I don't know. I think people can have minimalist style and style it really well, but then I don't think it becomes minimalist. I think it just becomes personal style.
Yeah, I think that's true.
You know, when you see people wearing really interesting like suede 90s bombers, but they might be like a brown and they wear it with a cream skirt, but the actual bomber's really got an interesting shape. It's got lots of like small details,
Yeah,
class details, like a funnel neck, whatever. I think that's not minimalist anymore. I think that's just personal style, or that's how that's their own vibe.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're just wearing the same Zara fake linen blazer in butter yellow, because that's the current colour of the season.
Call them out! Damn! Yeah, you're right though. Yeah. I mean, I think that's a really great example, is like minimalism's often connected with like trend following and just being really on trend.
Do you know who I think does this really well is Heidi Jones. She, I think, has minimalist style, but actually it's her personal style, and she wears like stuff with really interesting shapes and textures.
Yeah, I'd say that's true. It's quite Scandi.
Yeah, but it's not just like following everyone else Scandi. It's
Yeah.
very much like, this jacket has got the details, it has got this, you know, the small things that when you look for, you see, and you go, actually, that's not boring, that's not following everyone else, that's actually her personal style. And I think that's the same for people like Moya.
That's always the thing with style though. It's like you can enjoy an aesthetic, but then make it yours.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't have to be like a carbon copy over and over again. And I think the minimalist clean girl aesthetic is carbon copy over and over and again. I was talking to a friend over the weekend, and she was saying she was at an event recently, and she arrived and every single girl there was wearing the exact same outfit, like a beige trench coat and like a specific pair of trainers. I can't remember which ones she said. And she said she arrived and was just like, oh,
Okay.
random. And I think you really notice it if you go to like influencer events and things like that, because you're really concentrated version of scrolling through Instagram.
Oh my god, that's so true. Yeah, I've never even thought about that. You go to an influencer event and it is just like in-person concentration of 50 people that you follow online.
Yeah. And so like when you're scrolling through a feed, it might seem like different, and no offense guys, but like in real life, when everybody arrives, like everyone looks kind of the same. And I mean, it happens to me, like maybe I'll think I'm wearing a really original outfit and I'll post it on the internet, everybody's like, oh wow, this is so original, blah blah blah. But then like I'll go to an event which I've been invited because I'm part of this niche on the internet, and then everybody looks kind of the same.
Yeah, I would never say I've seen you dress the same as anyone else though.
Thank you.
It's okay.
But yeah, it is interesting. Minimalism, clean girl,
Trad wife.
trad wife. I think it's like kind of reminds me of, this might sound really far out, but like how architecture's got more and more boring through time, and like during like communism and fascism and things like that, we see architecture becoming more like brutalist and like pared down, and like kind of makes me think of that.
As in, it's just, oh yeah,
Like how,
it's like we're morphing
yeah,
into one thing.
yeah, and like how I guess because of politics and things at the moment, it's becoming quite reflected in fashion, and that's like making everyone dress the same.
Well, they are saying that with the way politics is moving, that the rise of conservative fashion is becoming a thing. And then we talked about PLT in a previous episode and how they've moved to this more high-end vibe feel, and it's very much sort of tapping into that luxury-esque minimalist aesthetic.
Yeah.
And more conservative. Again, if you think about the trad wife aesthetic, that's sort of going back to traditional female
Gender norms.
So the sort of like housewife.
You're quite trad.
I'm trad-wifing today. As a maximalist.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think there's definitely, I think you're right, like I think there is a move in fashion to all be the same, because the fear of being different is now being pointed at politically.
Yes, no, it's scary to be different. It's not embraced. And I think, yes, that makes so much sense. Every single difference is a way you can be pulled apart from the crowd and become one of the like marginalised people.
Yeah, and I think if you stick out more, it's like a more fear thing. If you think about it, we talk about bullying a lot on this podcast.
Yeah, we're against bullying.
In the school days. And, you know, if you were different and you weren't conforming to what every other 15-year-old girl was doing, you would get picked out. And I think that's like almost a fear, but on a political level, in a wider scale fashion term. So we're now seeing like this conformity, and I don't know if conformatism, no, that's not a word.
No, but
do you know what I mean? Like, I think
yeah.
we have got this fear of being different now because of everything. Not necessarily consciously because of everything going on, but maybe subconsciously. And it's making us want to dress more similarly or dress more minimal, not to stick out.
Yeah.
Are you okay?
That milk is really not good.
I did try to warn you. Well, after you made it. Do you want to go make another one?
I'll just not have it.
Do you want my
right
hot
now.
water?
Maybe.
Have my hot water. World's biggest fail.
I don't know why. It must have just been that mouthful had like more milk in it, or I don't know, but that was foul.
With a capital F.
Sorry, I interrupted a really interesting.
No, I mean, I'm done with it.
conversation.
But I was just also going to say that if you do dress in that way, we're not here to point fingers at you.
No, yeah. I mean, the most important thing is that you feel happy, confident, and comfortable in what you're wearing.
Exactly, 100%.
We're just like discussing the, I don't know, politics around it, I suppose, because it is really interesting, and I do feel like I think Pretty Little Thing rebranding is actually quite a big deal in terms of politics. Like it just is. Because they're a classic party girl brand. Like they were the brand for like the and I like the slutty club girls, and I say that with love because like go out and like have fun.
I was just about to say like they were the brand that did the strappy bodycon dresses and like all of that stuff. So it's
like you'd be wearing Pretty Little Thing at the kebab shop with your heels in your hand, and that was to me that's like that's the vibe, and that was the selling point of the brand in a sense.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of shocking. Like it kind of what it just.
And to see that intense flip, right, is really odd.
It just makes you feel a bit like, what is going on? And like their whole new brand. Don't get me wrong, I actually love the branding.
Yeah, they've done a good job.
Their branding's beautiful. PLT, I hate to say it to you, but your new branding is actually quite nice. But you as a brand?
Yeah, and I think their shift shows how much like that they're a really bad brand as well, because they're just like aligning with what they think will sell.
No, I don't think they are aligning with what they think they'll sell. I think they're just trying to change their bad name.
Yeah, I could see that too, actually.
Although, actually, I will say, I think like 60% of clubs in the UK have closed since COVID.
Yeah,
I'm going to fact check that. I'm pretty sure it's 60%.
There's a huge percentage of nightlife, night industries. The night industry is in danger.
But I think that also adds to it, because if their biggest buyers were the girlies going on a night out, and the girlies aren't going on nights out anymore,
that's true.
Who's going to buy it? Please go under, PLT.
Yeah.
I'd just much rather if you just went under.
Yeah, it's true. I don't know, I was thinking about, as you were saying, conservative fashion. The thing that I find interesting about it also is, like, there's a difference between modest dress and conservative fashion.
Ooh.
Because, like, I actually follow a lot of, like, modest dress accounts because I feel like when you have boundaries to the way you dress, it creates, like, more creativity. And so there's very interesting outfits being made with really cool silhouettes, things like that. But it's very different. Like, I think that it's easy to conflate the two. Because conservative, you would think, would be modest, but it's not modest.
I would say conservative is modest with the political edge.
Yeah, because there's a lot of these milkmaid dresses that are very like low cut, like very busty. I'd say it's very like male gaze oriented. It's like, it's conservative, but in the way that a man would want his wife to look. It's like sexy, but
it's suddenly not actually when you think about it like that.
Yeah.
It makes you uncomfortable.
Yeah, I'd say it's like...
Do you know what it makes me think of? It just makes me think of The Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah, or like...
That's really extreme, obviously, but...
Or like Stepford Wives.
Yeah.
Have you watched that film? Where the women are kind of like brainwashed robots wearing milkmaid sort of dresses.
Yeah, no, you're right though. You're right though, because there's an amazing, really cool maximalist modest dresser that I follow. I can't remember her handle, but her name's Nadia. She's so cool. And a lot of them are like Muslim girlies who honestly have such insane style.
Yeah.
Like insane style. Like they really push the limits on like styling, and I love it.
Yeah.
And to me, it's not even about modesty. It's just styling.
Yeah.
It's just personal style and like experimenting with shapes and silhouettes, like you said. And I think that is actually, you're right, very different to conservative dressing, because conservative dressing is the 50s fit and flare, which is obviously what I'm wearing right now.
But it's interesting what the difference is, because I think true conservative, I'm going to say this and I don't know, I'm going to say it and see how I feel as it comes out.
Okay.
Like, true conservative fashion, if you're actually being conservative, would be modest.
Yes.
If that makes sense. But it's not.
It's tailoring to the male gaze, which again politically is the direction we're going in.
Yeah. And I say all this as a girl who loves to rock a milkmaid dress and a 50s inspired outfit.
Yeah, I mean, we both go to Goodwood, and I think this is a perfect opportunity to talk about their fashion is from 50s, 60s, up to 66, though, very specific year. And obviously that does include wartime fashion and 50s very much fit and flare housewife fashion, and then 60s like trickling into like
not many people already do the 60s though when we're there.
No, but it's not, because it ends in 66, whereas the late 60s is what is known.
Yeah, for the Mary Quant.
Which is kind of more late 60s. But I don't ever look at the people wearing the fit and flares then and go like, oh, it's conservative. Yeah. But I think it's because it's like a choice.
And also Goodwood puts a big emphasis on vintage style, not vintage values. Like that's very much not what it's about. It's like being like politically vintage. You know what I mean?
It's about wearing vintage styles, but not agreeing and following.
Yeah, it's just
the politics or beliefs of that era.
Yeah, having fun in the clothing.
Yeah,
and that is the difference. I think is being aware of the cultural nuances of the fashion from that time whilst you're wearing it.
Yeah, and I actually think that's the case. That's actually the case in any form of fashion, like whether it's inspired by a certain culture, where it's inspired by a certain time, you have to understand and know the values of that. Yeah. And I think that I think we've spoken a lot about the difference between inspiration and cultural appropriation. And I think the difference is actually understanding and respecting that culture. Yeah. And I think that's the same as like the vintage clothes, not vintage values. Like, you know what the values were, but you choose to not follow them.
An interesting thing actually is I posted a TikTok of me wearing like a gingham
went
50s, like, sort of, what do you call those? Like a hoop skirt? I don't
the one
know.
that went viral.
Yeah, and it caught the wrong side of the internet, and people were really horrible in the comments. But there was a few comments. Many of them were sort of saying like things about me wearing this sort of milkmaid fashion. Basically, that it was just like, I don't know, how do I even say it in like nice ways? That I was just an idiot woman kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then there was a couple of comments as it grew of men saying, this is what a woman should dress like, this is how a woman should look, no juices being left on a seat when you stand up, things like that, like really, really bizarre things.
That's really, but also there's like the horrible side of like, is that also a racial aspect too?
Oh God.
So yeah, just like, I know that's bad, but
that probably is.
it's
You're
just
right.
disgusting.
But it was just very interesting to see.
Yeah, but it's hurtful, so I actually am sorry that happened to you, because that's just like, that's one thing about the internet you can't control.
Yeah, it's lucky that I just was like, this isn't, because the caption was like, I want to go to the club, but like I'm just don't know how to dress like anything other than the hot milkmaid, and just like
It was silly.
yeah,
it was
a silly.
yeah.
And also like if you go on my account, like I don't dress like it was just, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Very whatever. But it was interesting to see how people responded to it, and it got a very visceral response, more so than anything else I've ever posted, because of the politics around being dressed like that.
Again, we go back to that conservative fashion, because it was in quote, conservative fashion made to look slightly more revealing.
And women hated it because they were really annoyed with me for doing it, like appealing
But
to
the
the
thing is, I kind of like get that though.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I'm not saying it's right that they're horrible to people. Like, please don't be.
But
horrible
like
to people
the
on the
annoyance at it.
yeah, because I think I get uncomfortable when I see the low cut milkmaid dresses on women appealing to the male gaze, because it just makes me really like upset.
It's the context they're within, isn't it? Because it's like when you see one of those videos of like a woman wearing it in America whilst like she's like making bread for her like 5 children whilst her husband's like it
just makes me feel really sad, because I kind of feel it feels like it's not because they want to, it's because it's just the life they have to live.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily a choice or a conscious choice, maybe. I find that really difficult. So I do get that.
Yeah, it's definitely complicated, because I'm always like, I think being a stay-at-home mum or a housewife is a job in itself.
100%.
And like we were saying before we recorded this, that we're both like, we just want to make it so clear to everybody that we respect that, and like that's a totally valid.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, we're not here to tell you, like, it is a job, and I think people do forget about that. Like, it's hard to raise children, and you know, you're literally looking after an entire household. It is a job. So we're absolutely not here to tell you not to do that. Yeah,
I think it's just the idea of it being peddled on social media to people who don't understand the like context of these things, and then they want to get into these kind of weird gender conforming relationships without like understanding that maybe this person you're seeing online, yes, she's making this bread, but she's also got 6 million followers on TikTok and is probably earning more money than her husband anyway. Like it's
like actually their business is that. It's a really tricky one, and I think the idea of conformity and conservative fashion, if you're someone who wants to conform to fashion, there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with that either. And we definitely want to make that clear, that that's, you know, you are allowed to want to fit in.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. And to the people who don't want to fit in, you are absolutely allowed not to fit in. Everyone has, like, you have a place in society if you want to and if you don't want to fit in. And I think it's just understanding what that means, and if there is an extra political edge to it, and also just, as you said earlier, just being comfortable and happy in what you wear.
Yeah, I completely agree.
I really want to talk about minimalism as a lifestyle, because we talked about the aesthetic is its own thing.
Yeah.
But the lifestyle is something else.
Yeah, minimalist lifestyle. Are we calling that like the zero waste people? What were you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I think on the extreme side,
Yeah.
the zero waste, like the buying less, the having less, the capsule wardrobe, all of that stuff. Is that something that you think you have to do to be sustainable?
No. My partner always makes fun of me because I say no like that. I don't. No.
You sound Australian.
I don't know why. I think it's from watching too much H2O distilled water. But I don't think that you need to be living that super minimalist lifestyle to be sustainable. I think that is just an overprivileged perspective of people who have too much money and time on their hands, because I think that the better thing is under that whole underconsumption core, where people were showing like how their like immigrant parents and things like that live, which is technically minimalism, but they're just doing it.
Yes, yeah, I agree. This is something that Faria talks about a lot, actually.
Yeah.
Like, if you come from a advantaged background, you have no choice but to live minimally.
Yeah.
So it is actually a privilege to be able to choose to live minimally, which I would agree with. And there's also nothing wrong with that in the sense that as long as you are actually trying to live minimally.
But it's also like what you were saying earlier about like the aesthetic of it. Even the lifestyle of minimalism comes with like this whole aesthetic. And
yeah,
then,
like the glass jars, the refill
and that's
shops.
expensive. Like real minimalism would be washing out your peanut butter jars and like using them to store something else.
Your food.
Yeah,
In
like
the fridge.
rather than going to the
Zero waste shop and getting your rice refill.
in your expensive Kilner jars. Like that's,
yeah.
you know.
No, you're right, 100%. I also agree, I don't think you need to be a minimalist to be sustainable. Maybe I'm saying that because I'm not a minimalist and I feel bad, but I'm like 95% sure I actually do believe that.
It's not just bias.
It's not just because I feel guilty.
Yeah.
And I think the ultimate thing is actually not necessarily buying less, but also just like using what you have more.
Yeah.
And I think the thing with this is like we always talk, a lot of people in sustainability talk about a capsule wardrobe. God forbid I do not have a capsule wardrobe.
I don't know how, like, I could never. And it's not on any. But getting dressed is a creative experience for me. And I feel like often that's like a good way to be like, oh, I have to overconsume fashion because like dressing is a creative experience. But like, I
I am art.
But like, it truly is. And what I do buy, I buy intentionally, thoughtfully. And I wouldn't say like, actually, to be honest, I wouldn't say you have a particularly big wardrobe. It's not a capsule wardrobe, but you haven't got a whole like walk-in wardrobe.
I wish.
But like I think it's you wear everything you have and each piece is considered.
I think that's exactly it. Like every piece you own should be considered and reworn. If it's none of those things, then maybe
What's the point?
consider it having a new life.
Yeah.
Because it's true. Like I was talking to my partner about when we're eventually going to move in, and he's like, genuinely, there's no like you got to do something about your wardrobe. There's not enough space here.
What?
There technically wouldn't be enough space. And I was like, what am I gonna do? My God. But I think this is a time that might be the time where I finally get myself together and do my wardrobe order that I've been putting off.
Yeah, we've both been putting that off for a long time.
Because I'm too scared. But I also think it's important that this is like, as you said, consider what you have, and if you don't want to wear it anymore, give it a new life. But also, I recently made the mistake of getting rid of a denim jacket that I love, and I don't know why I got rid of it, to be honest. I had 2 denim jackets and I went, I don't need 2, I'm going to get rid of one. I got rid of the wrong one, didn't I? And that jacket is literally made with like antique French tapestry on the back by the most amazing small business, Frankie. If you're listening to this, I'm going to be buying a new denim jacket.
Gosh, that's so frustrating.
And it was something that I wore really casually, just like to the shop. I wore that so often. God knows why I got rid of it, but I think when you're doing these wardrobe clear outs and looking at what you have and like considering your wardrobe, just like actually genuinely take a minute to think about how much you wear something. Because why the hell did I pick the item that I hardly wear over the item I wear all the time?
Yeah, what I always do is like before I actually get rid of stuff is I put it in a pile and then I'll leave it there.
This is a good idea.
I'll leave it there for like 2 weeks, like neatly to the side somewhere. And if I pick through that pile to find things, then that's stuff that I wear. If I don't touch it, then I just get rid of it. But if it's like often what will happen is there'll be one item that I'll keep going back to. Another thing that I found very interesting was that someone said basically, if there's a fire in your house, you should grab all your dirty laundry because that's the stuff you wear the most often. And that made me think in terms of dressing and my wardrobe. I'm going to start considering the things that I wash the most and like what's in my laundry basket.
I've never thought of that, but that's actually genius because you're right, because it would be just leggings for me.
It's interesting. It makes sense and it's interesting. It's a good way of thinking about it because like, yeah, that is
that is the truth, because you're going through that the most. And honestly, if you went through my dirty laundry,
what would you find?
What would you find? You'd find a lot of leggings and a lot of fleeces.
Yeah.
My Lucy and Yak fleeces are on like rotation.
And that's the thing. It's the bits that we wear the most, but also saying that there's like dresses that I have that I wear like maybe once or twice a year on special occasions. I'm not going to get rid of them because I wear them. Like, I have a Save the Queen dress that I kind of just wear any time there's a special occasion.
Yeah.
And it's like it doesn't get worn very often, but it means that, like, it holds a really useful and important place in my wardrobe.
Yeah, exactly. I think the thing that it's hard to be... I also think it's really hard to be minimalist when your job is fashion and when your job is to be on social media wearing different clothes. You battle, or I feel like I battle all the time with this pressure to be wearing new stuff and to be coming up with new things, and so not having a capsule wardrobe, especially as someone who has a maximalist style, feels counterintuitive, but it's something that I'm always trying to work on. I'm always trying to go like, no, just keep on re-wearing those pieces and like don't feel the push because it's your job to have a massive wardrobe. Like, you can scale it down a little bit, obviously not to a point where I feel really sad about a denim jacket that I now no longer own, but to a point where there are of course going to be pieces in my wardrobe that I don't wear as often, that don't have a place,
and that's okay.
But there's definitely this like weird pull. I don't know if you feel this about being like a content creator in the space and having to like say one thing but feel the need to do the other thing.
I used to feel that. Oh, sorry.
No, you're good.
I used to feel that a lot more. I used to feel like a really intense pressure to like be perfect, like in terms of sustainability. But I think that I feel really lucky. Like, the community that's on my platforms is very understanding and kind, and I don't find it from you guys.
Yeah,
I find it from other creators.
That's what I mean. I don't find it from my actual like community are lovely. They freaking love the rewear and don't care vibes. Yeah. And I love that you guys love that. It's definitely maybe an insecurity in me seeing the other creators with all this stuff.
Yeah.
Being like, oh, okay, butter yellow, I see you.
Yeah. Butter yellow, sorry, just quite a quick tangent. Guys, that colour is nice, but that does not suit most people. So, like, don't be buying that until
it actually does kind of suit us, though.
It looks awful on me.
No, I think it would look good on you. Stop trying to tell your yellow undertones they don't deserve a place with a butter yellow outfit.
Well, I don't think I've ever worn anything yellow.
I'm not to like...
But you've
I've always
been
worn
wearing
yellow.
yellow.
I mean, when I saw it, I was like, lol, my wardrobe has yellow in it already.
Yeah. But I do think, like, colour trends, like, wear what you want at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. But, like, consider things before you buy them.
Perfect example of the colour trend was freaking Barbie.
Oh, God.
I still like pink, okay?
Yeah, I love pink. Pink's one of my favourite... Pink and green are my favourite colours.
Yeah, like, I still... No, that's such a tangent about random stuff.
But yes, minimalist lifestyle, I think it's a nice idea, but I think the true sustainability, like, ultimate lifestyle, I follow this epic couple on TikTok.
Don't mind me.
Called... I can't remember what they're called, but basically they do this challenge every year where they grow food throughout summer, and then they like preserve it. Yeah, they preserve it. And then they do a challenge throughout the winter and see how long they can go without buying anything. And to me, that's like proper. I mean, we can't all be growing enough food for winter because they like hunt and things like that as well, because they're in America. The guy goes like hunting.
Okay.
And like we'll get a deer and then they'll like preserve all of it and do all that jazz. But that, to me, that is like, if we're talking about ultimate goals, that is the ultimate goal.
Ultimate goal is to grow my own fruit and veg. Thank God my partner's obsessed with growing his own fruit and veg.
True.
But I think you're right. I think it's But what that actually is using what you own and making it go further.
Yeah.
And that is exactly what the minimalist lifestyle should be about. It's not about your kilner jars. It's not about, you know, zero waste living in a way. It's about making what you have go further with the money you have.
And it's interesting because they were talking about, a lot of people have been saying, oh, how much does it cost to do this, all of this kind of thing, because America's getting a lot more expensive with food. So a lot of people have found their page recently and are wanting to like start doing it themselves. And so they did a price breakdown about how much money they save every year doing this challenge. And it was, I'm not going to say the number because I don't want to get it wrong, but it was like a substantial amount. It was in the thousands. It was a substantial amount.
But I think that makes sense though, if you think about how much food waste.
Yeah.
I think the biggest issue, at least in the UK, I can't remember, there's loads of food waste stats. I might pop them down in the description thing, but it's one of the reasons why I go to a greengrocers and buy individual fruit and veg, which I've talked about, I think, nearly every bloody episode. But it's because I'm wasting less, and I'm therefore I'm like not losing money, because every time you throw a vegetable or something moldy in the bin, you're throwing pennies in with the bin, because you're throwing away something that you paid for.
Damn, I never thought about it like that. It's definitely tricky, like because it's just me, I'm only buying food for myself, and a lot of food I've like started freezing things way more, because like everything goes off so fast. Like I can't eat it fast enough for the amount of food that like there is.
I always like freeze a lot of stuff. I mean, as I said, vegetables I buy literally like an individual pepper, an individual this, an individual that, because it's mainly like it's me plus one other sometimes. Yeah. So I always assume it's just me in my head when I'm food shopping. Yeah. And so that really has helped me save money, because I think it costs me on average £12 a week to go to the greengrocers to buy fruit and vegetables for the week.
Well, that's really
quite good.
It's really good. What I've also stopped doing is doing weekly food shops, because I waste too much when I do a weekly food shop, because I can't like eat it in time, or like what I want change, things like that. So I do it every 3 days now instead. I've heard this is a thing where it's like short term, you just literally buy what you're going to eat over the next few days and that's it. Yeah, it might cost a bit more, I don't know. Stuff like lasts over, like a lot of veg lasts longer than like 3 days, but it just means I'm not buying like, I don't know, loads of stuff that go, like spinach that's going to then go off because I don't want to eat it until the end of the week. But then if you buy smart, like put your bag of spinach straight in the freezer and then utilise it from frozen, unless you're doing a salad, it's fine. But I think it's small things like that, those small changes, that one can help you save money, and two also actually help you waste less and make everything go further. And I think it's, things are more expensive. Every time I go and do a main food shop, if I need like washing up stuff or sauces or something, I'm suddenly like, wow, that's expensive. Excuse me, how much is that? Which is why I think it is important to like, although the minimalist lifestyle I think isn't financially viable in the way that they say, I think there are small things we can take from like people who come from disadvantaged backgrounds, like we can learn more from those kind of environments than from minimalism, in terms of like saving money and making things last longer. And I think we all kind of need to do that. Yeah, I mean, I'm not buying anything till mid-May, and that's something that Wow, you've not said that to me. Oh, have I not? No. I did. I was really proud of myself. I went to a charity shop the other day. The charity shop down the road, that is far too good for its own good. Yeah. Or far too good for me. And saw a really beautiful beaded dress, like a sort of slip dressy, stunning. And I held it up there and I was like, oh, it's really good. It's only £5. It's only £5, and I didn't get it. Wow. And I'm just, but in the reason I'm doing it is to save money, actually. Yeah. Because I'm like, I need to save some money. Yeah. I think growing food, if you've got space, though, is one of the best things you can do, like doing microgreens and stuff like that. And shameless shout out to my sister's book. Yes, Poppy! A Wild Way. Because if you want to learn how to do more of that, then she talks about it a lot in the book. Sorry, I have to. You can pre-order it now. We'll add the link. I can't believe I haven't shouted it out here already. No, but she does talk a lot about like how to start your growing journey, even if you're in a small space. Yes. And a lot of it, I mean, I won't give too much away, but I know she talks a little bit about like how when we were younger and just moved back from South Africa, my mum started gardening because everything was very expensive and life was very stressful, and she started gardening, and like so we'd have like peas and potatoes and fresh salad, really like nice stuff constantly because my mum was just growing it all. And I think that's pretty amazing.
I also think when you grow your own fruit and veg, it gives you an appreciation of how much work goes into growing stuff and like the amazing work that farmers do.
Yeah.
Because I think they are so undervalued, and people just don't realise how, one, hard it is to be a farmer, and two, how little money, and a lot of them don't even make a living, and three, we literally can't survive without them, people.
Yeah, I completely agree. A lot of complexities around the farmers of England, though.
Oh, yes. Yeah. But that's different, because that's landowners, not necessarily farmers.
So true.
Just like to point it out, people. The landowners are different to the farmers.
Very true. I'd love to be... I would love to, at some point in my life, like, end goal to have, like, a little small plot of land and have, like, a few goats and
small
things.
holding.
Small holding. I'd love a little small holding.
We're in the countryside that you don't want to live in.
Yeah, but when I'm, like, 40... I'll have I just want goats so bad.
You want goats? Why goats?
Because when I was young, there's a book called Heidi. I don't know if you've read it, but I was obsessed with it. I used to collect... I've got like 5 different versions of the same thing because I used to collect all the vintage versions. And it's about a little girl who grows up in the Alps, and then like she falls in love with a goat herd, and like her granddad lives like on... like in this little wood cabin on the Alps, and like she goes out with the goats all the time.
That's so cute.
And so I always wanted goats. Yeah, so I always wanted goats.
Goats! I actually can't believe that. I can see you being a little goat farmer.
Yeah. But yeah, in conclusion, I think that there's important things to be taken from like living a slower life and having less stuff. And the minimalist fashion aesthetic, unless it comes with actual minimalist action, to just like kind of greenwashing.
Yeah, because I don't think Zara having a minimalist collection, Scandi vibes, is obviously not sustainable.
No, exactly.
Or ethical.
Exactly. So it's kind of just silly.
And I think the tagline for the episode is "Make what you own go further."
Yes. I swear that's a World War II tagline, isn't it?
Probably. I mean, they had to do it on an extreme level. So.
Yeah. But yeah, make what you have go further. I think
no, that's make, do, and mend.
Ah, yes.
But also mend.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
And yeah.
I guess we're done, guys. This was actually one of my favourite episodes we've ever recorded, so I hope you enjoy it. I really liked it.
I'm so glad I suggested the topic.
So don't forget to rate us, like us, recommend us to your mum and your dad and your brother and your sister and your uncle and everybody you know. Sorry, the camera overheated.
So it stopped recording, but we just want to say hi and bye.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode.
If you want to see more from us, you can follow us on socials at Rosie Okocha and Izzy Manuel.